Hello, lovely people. This is kind of a weird continuation video from the last one, sparked by an idea. My last video was about ancestor work and how I'm starting to actually incorporate that in my practice, possibly. So go check that out if you missed it from last week. But today I want to talk about how spirituality, my spirituality in particular, has been actually greatly affected by social media in a good way, and how that has helped me to expand my knowledge in some respects and question things in a very evolutionary, non-conflicty way. And I wonder if anyone else had experienced this. I think so many other people, social media, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, not so much Facebook. That was kind of just aggravating for the most part. But I guess Twitter to some small extent, Tumblr, all these different websites over time, kind of like this weird hub of information, disinformation, different experiences of different people. You know, it's kind of this weird catch-all with so much, because you can post whatever the fuck you want on the internet. Granted, like, regulations and stuff are changing with that now, but there is a huge freedom to a lot of this, right? And one of the things that I started to notice was, one, how my actual transition and spiritual journey, well, was basically started by my mother and my family, I guess, in general. For anyone who doesn't know, I grew up in a very woo household. My dad kept crystals by his bedside. My mom very much was reading all these different spiritual new age books, had very interesting concepts, we control our own reality. But when it came to witchcraft, it literally was a video, I think I've talked about this before, from a YouTuber. I don't know if she's still posting at all. I haven't watched her in years now. But Harmony Nice was just doing some exploring of Wiccan stuff, and was sharing how she celebrates different holidays and things you can do with stuff. And I just kind of stumbled upon one of her videos because the algorithm recommended it. And that was the spark that got me curious. And I remained in my exploration on social media because it was such a easy way to look into research and to see without it feeling too scary, right? Like, there's so many ways that you can kind of explore certain topics without it being too heavy or like such a huge thing. This year I've really gotten way more into reading, but I will not lie to you, and when I am new to any sort of topic or just like barely curious about a thing, video social media posts and like a little 3-minute tidbits or things are sometimes all I really want for right away. And I used to feel a lot of guilt about that, about how I needed a very light introduction to things to wrap my mind around it. But that makes so much sense, right? Like, I'm not sitting here signing up for a college class. This is randomly recommended to me. It's a random little thing off to the side, and there's no reason why I should feel the need or the urge to deep dive and immediately know everything. And it was a very, I guess, critical thought that I used to have about my own curiosity, specifically when it came to anything that I considered a heavy topic: spirituality, religion, politics, anything of cultural significance, history. So many of these types of stuff, I felt that if I was not exploring it genuinely with like a really deep interest, and that meant watching a documentary, a full ass documentary, reading a whole ass book, taking a class on the thing, then I didn't think that my curiosity was valid or something to be honored, and if anything, something to be kind of be hidden. It was something to shuck away to the sides. What's wonderful about social media is that it gives you those small little tastes of something, and with so many different algorithms, this can be good or bad. The more you interact with the thing, the more curious you get about a certain thing, the more that's shown to you. And now I feel like that has been well trodden across the internet about why that could be bad for some people. You know what I mean? Where you get caught into these bubbles of information where all of your stuff is just confirmed, the whole confirmation bias nonsense. You never really explore ideas outside of your own. You're always saying people who you identify with, because the more you interact with it, the more you like it, the more it's fed to you. Yada, yada, yada. But I also think because there are times when you do stumble across videos, you're like, how did I get this type of video? Why is this in my recommended feed? Why is this in my For You page? Etc. and so forth. And that little bit of interaction, I think, has allowed me in a lot of ways to take in a lot of very interesting ideas and keep an open mind, because it's so short, it's so quick, it's so just a taste. And because I interacted with it at all, the algorithm now goes, oh, well, if that interests you, let us show you something else about it. And slowly but surely that has then fed down the line to me being exposed to very interesting new ideas, or ideas that are different than the ones I held before. Specifically with my last video talking about ancestor work, and honestly it is TikTok specifically on that front that has made me reconsider doing any sort of ancestor work, or the fact that some of the stuff I was doing, researching ancestry, honoring spiritual jewelry that used to be theirs, things of this nature, that, oh, I actually already am doing some ancestor work. Like it's not entirely outside of my purview as I thought it was. And I have to be actually pretty grateful for that, because again, like, I'll say it again and again, there's gonna be some people in the comments go, yeah, but this is like toxicity of it, da, 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 da. And it is toxic, I guess, if you're not a person who is critically taking in media or doesn't know how to do that, I guess. I actually want to make a whole video about this, about how to, like, not even how to, just like how, I guess, how I go about like critically understanding media while still overall enjoying it, because that can be hard to do if you're constantly critiquing something or constantly like on alert, being like, am I being radicalized? Am I being shifted one way or the other? Is this, you know, actually in line with my viewpoints? Whatever. Then the enjoyment can get sucked out of a lot of things, and suddenly you're like, I don't want to engage with any of this anymore. But I think that's kind of on the positive side of this. The positive thing about some things being subtle and not being, you know, a slow introduction of stuff, of just a little bit of engagement, and then we'll feed you more, and if you engage more, we'll feed you more, or if you disregard it entirely, then we move on to something else then. What's nice about that is the exposure level, especially when it comes to social media and videos, that is less confrontational than something that's in person, or because it's not so like heavy as like a documentary or book, like so heavy-handed and long with its explanation. I think that then that allows at least my brain to interpret the fact that, oh yeah, this is a topic, this is a different opinion, but it doesn't seem as aggressive or like world-changing or as taxing for my brain to take it on and play with it within the curiosity realm. And I really appreciate social media for that. I've been exposed to so many new things, so many ways of thought, so many ways where I have been flawed in my thinking, where I'm not doing enough in my activism, where I'm not doing, you know, it's a mix, right? And sometimes I watch a video and I go, hey, I don't necessarily agree with that, the fuck, like I feel a certain way, and then, but I interact with it long enough that the algorithm shows it to me again. And I noticed that on the second time round, I don't necessarily agree with something, but something because I've had maybe a second time to sit with it, maybe a few more minutes to mull it over, and seeing it again, I suddenly go, huh, why did I feel aggressively about that? Ancestor work, why is it that I was so vehement against ancestor work? Is this a new position that I haven't considered before that I should have? And for me, that was true with this case. Other times, of course, there are times when something comes up and I'm like, nah, no, that's not, nope, incorrect. Makes me think of all those people who like talk about mythologies or different myths and different things, and especially like when it comes to anthropologists and stuff online discussing different topics. I always think it's fascinating because of there are so many people who look at the ancient world as this, like, they weirdly venerate them as like, oh, these people are so much better, or they look at ancient people as like, oh my god, they were so fucking stupid, like we are so much better than them. And just kind of like with ancestors, like people be people. They do the best with what they got, and we also are doing the best with what we got. And I think it's very hard at times for us to just be honest with the fact that we don't know everything, no matter what the topic is. Many a times we don't have the full context. With the ancient world, so much of stuff has been misinterpreted, reinterpreted, fed through so many different things. So many things have been lost. You know, we're trying our best. It's an educated guess. Educated, yes, but like, are we being educated with the right stuff? I don't know. Like, it's something that's really constantly a thing for me when it comes to like critically engaging with media and having that curiosity be open, and why I think I've found such positivity through social media and exploring all these different topics is because of that level of understanding that, oh, I'm not educated on this topic, or that seems off to me, but why? And then asking myself why, like further questions, not necessarily jumping down the concept of, no, that doesn't feel right, that's wrong. You know, I don't quickly categorize things, I guess, as much. And I'm working harder and harder to constantly do that, to keep things very much in a, I agree with it, I don't agree with it, and there's this middle box here that's, I don't have enough information on that to agree or disagree. And being okay with that. Knowing that, oh, actually, I don't know enough about that. And also, I think being willing then to, if those boxes, I agree, I disagree, more information needed, more data required. Things could move from either of these boxes back into I don't know, and then move to another box at a later date. Those boxes can be very fluid. And then it all just comes down to me being able to uphold personal boundaries on what I feel is up for debate or not up for debate, I guess. And that can be so tricky at times, but I think that's one of the reasons why I love social media so much, because in person, when you're engaging in a conversation about a topic, it is not just you digesting the new information. That is not the only thing that's going on there. Social cues are going on there. You're worried of, are we just discussing? Has this suddenly become an argument? What other things are on the back burner that are being hidden under the surface? Like, what is not being said in this conversation is also too, it's like, where are we while we're having this conversation? I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I end up in these situations where I'm having a very in-depth conversation in a very public place, and we start getting a little heated, and it's suddenly a recognition of, this is not the place for this. This is not the place or time. And I'm now too worried about others' perceptions, the person's perceptions in front of me, whether or not like everyone's listening in our conversation, or whether this is gonna escalate into something weird or whatever, for it to be productive for me to take in any new information. I'm too distracted overall by other things. And I've noticed that a lot too, where like, conversations with other people so often, when it's directly in person to person, has so many other layers. And I think those other layers are important when you're engaging with new topics, because if you're just constantly involving it online, it can be hard to remember at times that the person who has that opinion that you disagree with is a person. They have a variety of reasons, cultural, contextual, their experience, yada yada yada, for why they would believe the thing that they do, why they honor the things that they do. Why do they do magic that way? Oh, well, because that's how their ancestors did it. Or, oh, well, that's because this is in direct opposition to the thing that gave them such a religious trauma and it's helping them heal. Oh, this is, you know, there's so many levels and layers to things. Constantly coming back to the fact that we're all just humans talking to each other is important, but not necessarily always conducive to you understanding a brand new topic and putting you in, I guess, a not even necessarily defensive, but an alert position, I guess. Because I definitely get that way. I definitely have all these other worries and stuff that pop in. So I don't have time to really focus and analyze myself and my thoughts on a thing and whether or not it's positive or conducive to the conversation and my ideas from before. I think that's part of it too. There's something about the odd privacy aspect of social media. I get to engage with ideas that are totally, and by engage, I mean like I'm just watching the video. I am just watching the TikTok, watching the reel, reading the post on Instagram, seeing the photo. I am not commenting, engaging with anything beyond that. What I mean about engaging privately, that's what I mean. Because just taking in that information and then sitting there and sitting with it means that I get to have my full first original reaction without judgment. I'm in the privacy of my own home most of the time, scrolling through Instagram, or if I'm scrolling through something, I'm scrolling through something with my headphones in, maybe like on my lunch break at work or whatever. Like, I'm the only one who is seeing me engage with this. So if I have a reaction, if I'm having some thoughts, if I'm having a mood about a thing, I get to engage with that fully, genuinely, exactly how I want to. Which, if that is inherently negative, I get to have the full ass negative reaction to something, and I don't get any judgment for it. Whereas in a conversation, if I have that exact genuine reaction, well, my genuine reaction of negativity could actually be very hurtful and triggering for someone else. And therefore, I think a lot of times that's why we get some of these weird, ingenuine conversations that happen, because a person needs more time to process the new information, or the information as it pertains to them, this new perspective on something. And because they don't have the time, or because their genuine reaction at their discomfort, at the realization that they could be wrong, at the realization that their defensiveness is a natural defensiveness to, no, I'm right. I have like that like survivalist feeling of like, no, I have to be right. This is attacking the ego. Ego must always be right. Yada, yada, yada. That reaction that just kind of instinctually comes up for us. When that happens in front of someone else, there is the chance that your negative reaction to something is actually really insulting to another person when it was just you processing. And I think that processing time is essential to moving on with stuff. I think that's why many times I end up taking a weird middle road in conversations where I suddenly realize I don't have enough data, or I realize I'm taking on new data or a new perspective I was not prepared for. I suddenly just go into true neutral mode, and I realized that sometimes the least hurtful thing I can do, which is now why it becomes my favorite phrase, is, oh, that's a very interesting perspective. But now that you've provided that for me, I don't necessarily know if I have enough like information. Like, I need time to process that to really see where I stand on something, right? Like, it makes sense. Of course, that doesn't work with every topic. There are some topics where if someone tells that to you, you're like, you need time to process whether or not people deserve human rights. That's concerning. But when it comes to a specific policy of like, I think this is the best way to help end homelessness and get everyone housed in an effective manner that, you know, that we could do quickly and helping people immediately. And if it's a totally new tactic or style that I haven't heard of before, it's like, oh, well, I mean, I cannot talk to if that is effective, or if there's been studies done on that, or if that has been tried in any other city or anything else. Like, I don't know enough about that. That's interesting. Thank you for giving me something to look into. But I will neither agree or disagree with you on this topic until I have more info. You are firmly in the center box. Anyway, I think that's one of the reasons I just really enjoy social media on that aspect, because as long as I'm constantly saying, do I have all the context for this? Does that make sense? Is that a topic I know enough about? Is this brand new information on a topic I thought I previously knew more about? And allowing myself to like have those thoughts and feelings on it, and have that slow introduction that an algorithm actually ends up giving me, I think it's been amazingly productive. I've changed my mind. I've held my position on a lot of things. But I'm sorry, I can't argue the fact that without social media, there's a lot of things I just flat out would never have been introduced to. Maybe eventually I would have found my way to witchcraft. Maybe eventually I would have like stumbled out of Wicca on my own and found a different like weird folky version, you know, a mix of combining my own practices from home that have been kind of just developed through my parents and my grandmother being woo, mixed in with then our more ancestral practices. Like right now I'm really looking into some Italian folk stuff, but like I got introduced to some more folk stuff, and the idea of looking into specific folk practices of certain regions because of fucking social media. I was like, oh yeah, you know, I've always kind of wondered like how did these pagans do this or these pagans do that, but I thought all that I could find in the mythology. I didn't think that like, oh, actually no, maybe it's not all in the mythology. Maybe there's more beyond that. That idea didn't even occur to me till it was suggested by social media. Anyway, I would love to know in the comments down below, what is a social media thing with your spirituality? What is something that social media introduced to you that like really caught your eye? Is social media the reason you found witchcraft, or was that not the case? I know for a lot of older people, of course, that's definitely not the case. They were like, I've been in it for a bit. the new communities that are just interesting upon stuff building. Or, and of course, because no matter what, they shall come up. What are the negatives of social media and spirituality? Do people just accept things without looking into them? How do you think people could critically engage with social media stuff more regularly? All that in the comments down below. And anyway, I still have quite a few of these to do, so maybe I'll film another video while I'm cleaning these pieces, but we shall see. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.